Hey guys, I am going to attempt to film this video. Hopefully I'm shooting for 20 minutes, but my battery went from fully charged to halfway charged, so I'm guessing it's probably gonna die pretty quick on, so we're gonna get started. We just finished this last week, we just finished our last week of homeschooling in community, and so I thought this would be a good time to kind of go over how do I manage homeschooling. I have 4 kiddos that currently homeschool. I have a rising junior, I have a rising 5th grader, a rising 4th grader, and a rising 1st grader. So they're fairly spread out except for those 2 in the middle. And I just kind of want to show you how we manage it in our planners. If you go on the internet, if you look on YouTube, if you go anywhere, you're going to see tons and tons of ways that moms do this. You'll find bullet journals, you'll find student planners, you'll find people who do a method called notebooking, and to me notebooking and bullet journaling are kind of the same thing, but I want for my kids to be a little bit more focused on really using their planner for more than just a list of their homeschool responsibilities or their schoolwork. So this could apply for public school as well if you're looking at a way to kind of incorporate planning for kids. So what feels like millions and millions of years ago, helped facilitate time management in the business world at the corporate level. And so it's really been a matter of switching gears and figuring out how to apply this at the stay-at-home mom, homeschool student level. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So if you've watched, sorry, I think I've said so like 12 times. I'll try to do better about that. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I use the Inkwell Press disc planner. This is the first year I've used this planner. It just released this year, but I've been using Inkwell Press for quite some time. I want to say 3 or 4 years. I started in an Erin Condren. I played with the Happy Planner. I did some bullet journaling, and this is my comfort zone. I really like the Inkwell Press. The discs are growing on me. I do like having metal discs, and that makes a big difference. I had tried Happy Planner with the plastic, and they did not work well for me. So using the bigger discs and they're being metal, it does help with the stability. What I do is, this is the current week that we're on, and it is currently Saturday when I'm filming this. And I'll move these out of the way real quick. And I wanted to start with what I do when I'm planning for the kids. So on these pages, I keep everything. This is how I marked going to community. I also use this nerdy Coffee Monster Co sticker. It's one of my favorites. I keep track of meal planning, our chores that we're doing, laundry, daily habits. And for me, the daily habits are how I track practicing instruments and doing their schoolwork. Really, it's how many days did we school that week, spending intentional time with my husband, doing my Instagram, praying. I also have a little section here where I keep lists of things that I've got coming up that I need to get done. This week I had a lot of stuff going on, so I marked this. This is how I marked soccer practice. We always sleep late on Tuesdays. It's the day after community. It just happens. But my husband's work schedule was a little different that day, so I marked that with a computer. It just seemed this week had a lot of stuff. I've been marking my Happy Mail by using a stamp that has the days of the week and then just using one sticker. I could always use one of these, but I was just trying something different, so I did that. Let's see. My son went to prom last night. We did prom pics. I had a mom's night out. Today I've been buried in laundry. A game got canceled. Drama practice got canceled, so we got to sleep in. Today's my day to change contacts. Tonight we're going to have a family game night. Church tomorrow. I'm working through some tasks for getting prepped for summer school. And that's how I track our life. But then everybody says, well, what do you do with your homeschool? How can I incorporate homeschool into your planner? Well, one of the things that's nice about a disc planner is I can add sections, and as you can see, I'm going to try to fold it so you can see, I have these dividers. And so I have a miscellaneous section. I don't know if you can see that. It says it in gold foil, so it's gonna be hard. But I have a miscellaneous section, I have a finance section, my homeschool section, my schedule, a church section, which is where I keep my notes, and then I have a meals section, which is where I do my meal planning. And so, everything's gonna fall around. We're gonna go to my homeschool section. So in my homeschool section, what I do, these are my 4 kiddos. This is from the beginning of this school year. I said rising because we're finishing our year, so they will all be moving up in grade. And what I keep in here is a list of what we're doing on a week-to-week basis. I don't need that in my weekly spread. I don't need to be looking at the list. I do need to be able to look at it and say, hey, how many days did we finish school this week? How many days do they practice their instruments? But I don't need the actual list of their schoolwork. So before I open this, because I have switched this over to summer school, I wanted to show you guys, this is my archive planner. It is a happy planner cover that I had, and the ginormous, I think these are 2-inch discs, gold metal discs, and this is where I archive my things. So, and I'm going to do a video all about my archive planner, but all I wanted to show you in here is our homeschool. So in the fall, I make a sheet like this, and in the center it has the dates for the fall to winter semester, and I put in there, these were a stamp set from Felicity Jane, I believe, and you'll see that it says August, and then down here in winter it says December. And so those are the months. And this is from my bullet journaling. I draw in the calendars, I stamped in the months, marked when soccer started, when wrestling started, and then this is the schedule. So on this side I keep our foundations, which is the program my younger kids are in, and on this side I do the dates and the schedule for the challenge program, which this upcoming year I will be directing a program, and my son and husband will be in a different program, but all in challenge. So I have to keep track of both of these schedules, and what I do is I have weeks 1 through 12 on this side, weeks 1 through 15 on this side, and then the dates down the center. This just helps me know what week we're on, when we're there, and that kind of stuff. You'll see that dates are highlighted, and this is how I track my attendance. If we schooled, I highlight it. The fall semester, we did not have a lot of weekend schooling days, but you could highlight them that way too. This way, when I get to the end of the year, I can count and I know exactly how many days we schooled. So I do that for my fall semester. That's how I start. And this evolved over the course of the year, and I just gotta kind of make sure, okay, there's no names. So originally what I came up with is my 3 littles, I have a list. And I have their math assignments. There's the listed lessons that they're supposed to do, and I mark them. Memory work and the days of the week. They recite their memory work. We check it off as we go. And sometimes the week it worked really well, sometimes it didn't. This was the very, well, this is saying it's actually week 5, so. Oh, that's right. I got this planner in September. Sorry. So I started this in October. I was confused there for a second because that's not when school started. But anyway, I make a list, and that's all I need for my little kids. These are the math lessons we're doing. They go to the next math lesson every day. Handwriting, they do a certain section. Reading, 30 minutes every day. Essentials, which is a program only my son was in this year, but next year both of them will be in it, my daughter too. So we worked through it. But what I found is I needed simply a list. Now my older son is up here at the top, and his list is much shorter because he is a sophomore. I am not tracking everything that he does. He gets a guide, which is for all practical purposes a syllabus for the year. So he knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing and what sections of the books he's in, all that kind of stuff. But what I used this for was, he had an Algebra 2 test this week. He had a biology test on Module 3. He should be reading Robinson Crusoe. He had a paper due on week 8. This was week 6 for him. And then we had a sub coming in on a Monday. So that's what I use the section for my oldest child for. On my youngers, it's just a list. And you'll see as you go through this, it evolved. Initially, I was doing a list like this, and then I was doing a prep sheet and then notes for the day. But I think what I'm going to do next year is, I like having the 2 pages, but as you can see, when we got towards the end of the year, this is week 18, my lists were getting utilized. I was marking things, but I never used this planning section. So I think I'm going to just leave it open next year and just have this be an open notes section, and I can take notes while my son is in essentials. I can take notes in my class that I'm going to be directing next year. I may divide it in half and just be notes for them, notes for me, but I think I'm just going to use this as a notes page. This was stamped in, so to track the week that I was in. And then over here, I would write the foundations week and the challenge week, because they didn't always match up. So my plan is probably next year, since I'm going to be in the challenge program working, I will continue to do this so I know where my kids are, my littles are, and where my olders are at the same time. But this is probably just going to be a notes page. And that's how I did it. And then I'm going to go back a couple pages. So for winter to spring, I did the exact same thing. I do need to finish out, because we will school till the end of May. But this is where I would put big things. We have a dissection lab on a certain day. We had science fair, back to school. I also have mock trial going on. I need to mark that. Awards night's going to be in May. So this is just how I follow the schedule. We didn't have any cancellations. We didn't have anything weird, but this is how I track it. And I just divided it by semesters, and I did the same thing with the notes pages. I simply sat down. Here's a blank one just so you can see how I started. I changed my mind and I did summer school a little differently, which I'll show you in a minute. But this is what they started with. I've got 3 columns for my littles. I've got a space for my older son, Jack. This is where I marked their presentations. This is where I had my notes. This was supposed to be my planning section for what was coming up. And then this is where I marked the week. So on this coming Monday, we have our Memory Master, it's not a competition, but proofing, where we finish up with that. And so I've made a sheet for that week. But this is how it would look. I hope that makes sense, but this is what I started with. And so what I did is, I think over the summer, I sat down and I did the first semester's worth of pages, basically a pen, a ruler. I use the, oh my gosh, what are they called? It's an artist pen I get from Michael's, because you can highlight over it. Pitt. I use the Pitt pen from Michael's, the extra small, I think it is. And that's what I use to draw all my lines. So I just sit down with a ruler. I do it in one day. I stamp them all out, and then I sit with Crayola markers and I color them in my kids' colors. I do it while I'm watching TV or something. Very, very simple. But I drew it all in on one day, and then I think I came in on another day and I stamped all the letters, and then I think I came in on another day and stamped all the weeks and the notes. This was something I kind of added towards the end, and they're done for the first semester. Then over Christmas break, I do the same thing for the second semester, and it was all done. I think the only thing I did up front for both was, if I remember correctly, and now I can't find the week, I did do both of these at the beginning, just so I had them ready to go and I could look at the schedule. So I could look at spring if I needed to for dates in the fall. So we did that. We also had protocol. I have a lot of things I need to add to this. But anyway, so that's what I did during the school year. But for summer, it's going to be a little bit different. So now that I've gone over that, what I do in the summer is this. So I played with my stamp set, and I had a bunch of summer stamps and some icons. I'm trying to think of where I got these. I think these were all Studio L2E stamps, and maybe a few of the Sweet Stamp Shop. I think those would be it. And I just took the stamps, I picked colors that I thought looked nice together, and I just overlapped them until I made this big image. And then what I did was I stamped summer school on top in black. I listed out the weeks we have for summer just numerically, and that's a stamp as well that says week, and then this is goals. And I made 3 columns for my little kids. and my battery is flashing. So I'm going to stop right here and I'll be right back. Okay guys, sorry about that. Got everything and we have a fresh battery. So I was talking to you about my cover page. So I like to do a cover page so that when I archive the pages, I have a record of the dates. But one of the things I was very cognizant of is over the summer, we're not going to do school every single week. We're not going to be as consistent or consecutive as we do during the school year. So what I decided was I counted up the weeks to where I think next fall will start. I numbered it out. I had about 17, 18 weeks. So I stamped in these numbers and went over. And what I plan to do here is if we do week one, like our week one should be April 15th, which is this coming Monday for my littles. Excuse me. And this all pertains to the younger kids in elementary school, not to my older. I'll get to him in a second. So I'm going to go through here and I'll put the dates corresponding to the week. This way I have some flexibility. If we have a week come up where we decide to take a trip or my mom and dad come into town, we can take the week off. I'm not wasting pages and I don't have to completely start over or feel like I've done something wrong or fix this. So that's what this section is. This section is going to be goals. And like I said, we just finished schooling yesterday for the school year. We are going to continue we have to finish up a math book and we have some more stuff to do. So we do school year round, but meeting with our community and that level of schedule, I guess is the word, that part is done. So things change as we switch from being in community and being on break from community. This section is going to be a goals section, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to speak with each of my kids and ask them, what are 3 things you want to work on this summer? We basically have 3 months. So during the summer, what are things we want to improve on? For Henry, one of the things that we want to improve on is his public speaking skills and being prepared for presentations. Most consistently is that. He can stand up and talk, but he doesn't always have all of his presentation done, and he doesn't always have it rehearsed and organized. So that's something we're going to work on this summer. For my daughter Lily, we're going to start working on essentials materials just to get her familiar with it so that it's not quite so much of an overload at the beginning of the year. For Eleanor, it's going to be learning to read. She's finishing kindergarten and she's doing well, but now we can kind of strip away some of the other subjects and really focus on reading, and that's what her goal is for the summer right now. I just haven't sat down and written that in yet. The next page is going to look very overwhelming at first. It took a long time, but it's just a bunch of lines. So what I like to do for the summer is I like to have something where I simply have to look and go, okay, what do we have to do today? So we decided as a family what we wanted to work on a daily basis. And I know this looks like a lot of stuff, but it's basically a lot of little things that I believe should be able to be done in less than 2 hours. So we'll spend maybe an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon working on schoolwork, and the rest of the time will be free time. So they have to finish, and again, I'm saying so, I'm sorry. We will finish our math lessons for the year, and then we actually will move into the next book. They do 1 math lesson a day all the time. I just find that they never get that summer lull where they forget what they've learned if we just do it. And the math lessons take 30 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour if it's a particularly difficult topic. But again, in the summer, I'm not, okay, we got to get this done in the next hour because we have to do this next. It's, work on it for 30 minutes and take a break if you need to. But your goal is to have this done sometime today kind of situation. So they do a math lesson. They do some drills. We work with flashcards for 20 minutes. They do a typing lesson. This is something I'm working with them on because in Essentials, which is something that Henry and Lily both will be doing next year, they start to learn how to write papers. They're very short papers and they're easy papers, but it's a skill that I feel the kids need to know how to do, and they're interested in learning it now. So we have a really fun program. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's Mavis Beacon, and my older son did it, and it helped him tremendously. So we're going to work with them over the summer, just really slowly doing a lesson or two a day, a week, as they memorize how to use the typewriter or the computer without looking at the keyboard. They also do a fact sheet, and this is a sheet that comes with their math program. We don't do them during the school year. I just make a bunch of copies over the summer, and what we do is we make bets. And so they can say, I bet I can finish half of this in 3 minutes, and then the other one will bet something, and whoever wins gets to choose the movie that day or gets to choose the lunch or something like that. So it's something we do for fun. It's for speed and memorization. Then they both have an instrument that they practice 30 minutes every day. The charts are part of our Essentials program, and I just list them out. They'll do copying a chart, 1 chart a day. Sometimes they're really easy, sometimes they're longer. Task sheets are another piece of that program that we're going to work on. We didn't get to those very often this year while we were writing papers with Henry. So it's something I want to work on getting better at over the summer so that in the fall it won't be a difficult thing to add in. I do want them to work on presentations. In our community, we do a presentation every week. Because I'm going to be stepping back and going into the challenge program and not physically with my little kids during the day, I want to make sure that they've got presentations prepared. It's not stressful for them. So as they're reading books over the summer, we do have them read for 30 minutes every day. While they're reading books, hey, would this be a good presentation? Why don't we sit down and talk about how we would present, and just be practicing those skills over the summer. During, I think every Friday or Saturday, depending on my husband's work schedule, we do a presentation time, and they just practice doing presentations, answering questions, public speaking. We're a family of 6, so we have our own audience, and that's something that we do over the summer. Now, the green is for my son, the pink is for my daughter, and the yellow is for my other daughter. Now, my other daughter is going into 1st grade, so we're working on reading and handwriting and actual reading lessons. Sorry if you can hear that. There's a puppy that's upset outside. And that's what we do. So what I did was I prepped these for 16 weeks this summer. So there are like these 2 pages, and then I do a reflections page. If we end up doing the 17 and 18, I can either sketch them in here, or I may just transition back to using what I do during the school year where they have the vertical columns, because I'll be getting used to moving back into that way of doing things. This is a stamp that I have, stamps. The rest of it, I just sat down with a ruler and drew it out. Now these are dot grid pages from the Inkwell Press, from Tanya at Inkwell Press. And so this was not hard to do at all. It was tedious, it took a long time, but it was not difficult. So I do this so that my summer is set up. I will not have to think about how am I going to set it up, what am I going to do, we're ready to go. And I think I am close to about almost 30 minutes. This may be a 2-part series. So this is what I do. And then the way I fill them out is like this, just so you guys can kind of see. I did a couple of them. So math, we will be starting with lesson 91, and they'll go through. Now you'll see this 18, that's actually the test. We may do it on Saturday, we may do it on Friday, we may bump it to Monday. I wrote it down just as if we don't have anything going on that Saturday, let's knock it out. Let's get it done. Don't have to worry about it. There are fact sheets. They go A through J. So I just was practicing how I thought this was going to look. I would write down A, B, C, D, E. I'll have those copied, and then I just hand them to them. We make our bets and we go. Practicing, I'm just going to check off if they practiced. Let's see, typing lessons. I can't remember. It's been a while since we did these typing lessons, so I can't remember if it's just like 1, 2, 3 or something else, so I didn't write that in. Task sheets are, there's one for 5 days of the week, so I just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do them. Presentations, I'm going to just put a dot if they're working on one. When they present, I'll put a check mark. And then they're going to take these sheets and put them somewhere for over the summer. Reading is simply going to be a check mark. But that's kind of what I think it's going to look like. This should take me literally a minute. Excuse me, I have to move my leg. It's going to take me literally a minute to prep these for a week and be ready to go. It's simply going to matter on where they got the previous week. Now, I know I did do a couple things down, but I can easily wipe that out and do it over. So the idea is that I can sit down, I can prep this out, check them off and what we get to. And then the next week, it'll just be where we got to that week to this week. The only thing that we have a deadline is I like the math books to be done by May, so that in June we're starting the next year as far as that goes. But everything else is kind of going at their pace, making sure they understand the material. It should be fun. It shouldn't be super, super stressful or super, super strenuous. So that's my goal. The other thing I do want to make sure that I mention, because Ashley did such a beautiful job, these are my dividers from Ashley Lee Designs, and we came up with this idea when I was in my A5 Louis, and when I moved into the disc planner, which is similar to the Happy Planner, she had, I think she still has them, but she's now ready to ship. She did a custom for me, and this is the size of the personal, yes, this is the size of a personal planner month tab, but we put homeschool on it. And I have this in gold, rose gold, and silver because those are the main foils I switch between. So I had 3 of these made. They're awesome. They're a little bit different than the others. I can put a sticky note on the back, and I absolutely love this. It's different from my today marker, which is right there. And then I have a month marker, which I use for something else, but I explained that in a different video. And I got these from her. I know she is going to be doing some customs, so this is definitely a possibility. If you mention that you saw it in my video or mention my name, she will at least know what you're talking about. I don't know how it's going to work now that she's transitioned, but this was a custom order that I got at the beginning of last year. As soon as I got this planner, we started talking about these. That is how I mark my little kid's summer school. So when I go to my older son, who was going to be rising junior, I made this page. He's going to be going into challenge 3. Again, I did this with stamps. This was a lot more difficult because it was individual alphabet stamps. But what I did is I just had a couple sets out at a time. I put them on my stamp block and I just went down the line in different colors until I got this design. I did add some icons that I got from, and I know I always say her name wrong, but it's Altier Dreams. She's on Etsy. She has some beautiful stamps, and so I used some of her icons. The soccer ball, there's a chemistry, beakers, a paper with a pen. Then I have this little kind of courthouse for Latin. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's all I added. But I just did the design, something for myself. And then he has novels that he needs to read and goals for the year. And so I set that up in here just so I can kind of track his progress over the course of the year. And I wrote all the novels that he's going to be reading and some of the textbooks that I think it would be a good idea for him to start getting familiar with. Now you'll notice I've got check boxes on both sides. This is to when he's read the book. This is when I purchased the book. So we already have a couple of them. I already have this one, which I for some reason didn't mark, and Tales of Shakespeare, and I've already purchased Much Ado About Nothing. So we do these on his novels on iBooks because my husband also directs that strand, and that way I only have to buy the book one time and they both can use it. And we just do that there. And this side is going to be for goals, things that he wants to work on, writing better papers, mind mapping and outlines, and time management. So utilizing his planner more efficiently. So that is what I do for my kids. Now I'm actually going to be stepping back into the director position for a different level of challenge. And I made a page for myself. I haven't started on it yet, but to prep for my school year. And I made a spread for myself. This will be, what are my goals over the summer? What do I want to accomplish so that the fall goes better? And I'll work through that as the summer goes on. But that is what I do for homeschool planning in my planner. As you can see, the biggest thing I want to show is this is a very, very thin section of my planner. It doesn't take up a lot of space. And then in my weekly spreads, I have room to plan for the rest of my life. And the only thing in here that pertains to that is homeschooling, so I can check off the days we did it, instrument practice, and then that's really it. Now, if something big is going on, if somebody has a big project or a big paper, or we're going to the library for a specific reason, that will go in here. But I'm not having to try to figure out, write in for 4 kids all of their assignments. I just have to mark that. And I do that just for myself. That way at the end of the week, I don't always have my highlighters out. I don't always, where I can check the attendance kind of situation, but I can go back and look and say, oh man, we schooled all 5 days this week. Yes, we did a great job. Or man, we only got 3 days this week. We're gonna have to do a couple of Saturdays to make that up if it's necessary during the school year or in the summer. That's always, questionable. We homeschool because it's flexible. And we do school year round. We just slow down in the summer and don't do quite as much. I think that's everything. So this is the first part. There's going to be a second video, which is going to be what I have my kids do. This is what I do. So as a homeschooling mom, this is how I incorporate homeschooling into my planner. It is a normal person's planner. I personally don't use a teacher planner or any of those kinds of things. For me, I learned if you watch my very, very first video from this year, it was lessons I learned in 2018. And the biggest thing I learned is I have to have everything in one book. This means that, now it's a big book and it's not a super light book, but it also is not a ridiculously heavy book. I take this with me. If it's not something that I want to carry in my bag, I do carry a WP standard tote, cargo tote. On the daily, that's what I carry. But this can easily just be tossed in the car. I have it in the front seat. If something's going on or we're doing schoolwork or there's a question while we're out and about, I can look up, hey, this is the lesson you should be on. Hey, this is what we're doing today. Hey, we've got a crazy Friday. We're probably going to be schooling on Saturday this week. All that kind of stuff is in one place. And I'm able to manage it. This was the first year I've been able to incorporate everything into one planner successfully, that I lasted the entire year, and it really worked out well. If you have any questions below, let me know. The program that we use personally in our family is Classical Conversations. If you have any questions about that, you can leave those below as well. I will, everything that I talked about today were pages I created, either with stamps, or a ruler and a pen. And all the papers that were used were from Inkwell Press. But you could do this in any planner. You probably could do this in any, well, let me rephrase that. You can use this in any planner that you can add pages into. I don't think there's enough note pages in the Erin Condren. It's been a while since I've gotten one that you could have a whole layout for the whole year. And I don't know, but if you have, the little notebooks that you buy, she has those petite planners and those journals. You could set up one of those to do something like that and stick it in the back of your planner, which to me still counts as one book. That's just my opinion. This year, because I was doing discs, I was able to just have everything in. These are, I think they're almost 2-inch discs from Levenger that work well with the Inkwell Press system. That's what my top looks like. Just so you can kind of see. There is a little bit of give and slide with the book, as you can see, but it doesn't bother me. And I do have a band, so if it's really bugging me, I can band it together and everything stays put. And I do have a couple little, I just forgot the word, paper clips to put in there. And then I have my clear dividers on the side. And that is my everything planner as a homeschooling mom of 4 kiddos. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's going to be a little bit long and I apologize for that, but I don't think there's any way I could have made it any shorter, other than I'm dividing it and talking about this in one video and the other thing in the kids in the other video. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.